Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this morning, and I guess this is the first time we've met in the new year. So happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully that all your resolutions, everybody's still sticking with them. Not quite to the middle of the month yet, so still got time. Anyways, welcome. If you could, before we begin, I'm going to ask everybody to rise, if possible, and take a moment of silence. Reflection. Amen. Thank you. And just an interesting little point on our agenda. We made a couple of little things, so changes in the time. So we'll ask if there's any declaration of interest. We've got the pecuniary and the conflict out of there. It's just general interests. Councillor Noon. Yep, that microphone.
Thank you and good morning. I'm declaring a conflict of interest with item 9.1.1, the 2026 8 Normandy Homecoming Committee, as I'm a volunteer on that committee. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Ashley, probably jumped ahead a couple of spots too far, but we are doing stuff online. Can you give anybody out there notice of how they can participate online, please? Ms. Noble?
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Eccles, before I begin, at any point, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Both members of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hands physically to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance, please send a chat message to myself, West Grey Communications, and I will attempt to assist you. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is taking place across 2 meeting platforms, both on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation, if any, must be done through Zoom. It cannot be done through YouTube at this time.
Thank you, Ashley. With that, we're down to number 4 on the agenda this morning, and we have delegations and presentations. We do have a couple of delegations this morning, and welcome, Sarah. There you are. Can I ask you to over at the table and excuse me, use the microphone there. Will that beep that you heard is the 10 minutes. Your 10 minutes delegations, we have them on the agenda for 10 minutes, and we do have a timer up here. So you heard the beep, but it hasn't started yet. That just means that the timer was turned on. Sarah Hopkins from Gravel Mining Community Impacts, I believe is what you want to delegate on this morning.
Yes.
Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. My name's Sarah Hopkins, and I am a proud West Grey resident. I want to start by saying we are sharing the following information to illustrate the immediate impacts of 2 current aggregate license applications on West Grey's residents, business, tourism, and environment. This is to support Judy's delegation. We are not specifically arguing against these current applications. Our area consists of homes, businesses, camps, including Saugeen Springs RV Park and Camp McGovern. All of this adds up to a seasonal population of 175 people per square kilometer. That's the equivalent to the town of Newstead. We enjoy a diverse environment of woodlands, wetlands, open fields, and the Saugeen River. The river access from the Hopkins Bridge makes our area a busy tourist destination. The Hopkins Bridge that sits in the center of our area is busy enough that the municipality posted no parking signs on the bridge. Parked cars often line both sides of concession board. Visiting and local fishermen, tubers, kayakers, they all use the bridge to access the Saugeen River. A popular offering from the Saugeen Springs RV Park is a tubing trip down the river that also ends at the bridge. This all contributes to our local tourism and economy in West Grey. As residents, we have an intimate knowledge of the Saugeen River, provides us drinking water, and is the heart of tourism. Once in a while, the Saugeen, sorry, do I not have a slideshow? Because I'm talking about this area and y'all don't know where it is. And then to the next slide, if possible. So that's the area we're talking about. See
There we
all
go.
that blue? That's all the hazard lands of the Saugeen River.
Thanks, Ash.
Once in a while, the Saugeen jumps its banks, and when it does, we wait for it to settle back in, clean up, and carry on. In this neighborhood, we also live with the Walker Redford Pit. Ever since Walker purchased Cedarwell, this pit has become very active. We live with constant pit noise such as backup beepers, tailgates, and the constant drone of the stone crusher. Dust permeates our homes. There has been an increase of gravel truck traffic on Concession 4, and notably crossing the narrow Styx Bridge. Just yesterday, I was on the Styx Bridge. Snowy, there's snow on the road. I see headlights coming. What happens? He waits. It's a one-way bridge. That's how we've been treating it. Recently, weight restrictions were placed on the bridge on Concession 6, just north of us. We learned at the Bridge Study Open House, this bridge is at risk of closure in the near future. Once this bridge closes, we expect a large portion of the 600 cars a day that use Concession 6 to migrate to Concession 4, adding to the traffic volumes there. In January 2023, the first new application showed up on our doorsteps, and by June, a second application. We also learned about the intended expansion of the Redford Pit towards the Saugeen River. These applications straddle the Saugeen River, adjacent to the floodplain, and trap multiple homes between them and have a cumulative impact on our area. You can see there, number 1 is the existing Walker Pit, 2 is their expansion, and 3 and 4 are the new applications. They will multiply the impacts of gravel mining on residents, environment, and infrastructure by 3. Our area has been dealing with the ramifications of these 2 aggregate applications for 2 years now, despite them not being submitted to West Grey for consideration of a zoning change. The immediate impacts of these applications have been reduction of our home value and marketability. Last year, multiple homes have been put up for sale on Allen Park Road and Mulock Road. These listings are still sitting. Camp McGovern shared at the beginning that the application on the property directly adjacent to them will render their property unusable. This contributed to them listing it for sale. How sad is it to see a Camp Frat Rescue to be shut down, put up for sale due to just the threat of a gravel mine? Residents have had to invest time, money, and energy into participating in the licensing process. If we could skip to the next slide, please. We are not NIMBYs. We already live with an active gravel mine and understand the impacts. Residents that currently live with the Walker Redford Pit have reduction of quality of life and enjoyment of our properties due to these impacts. To multiply them by 3 is inconceivable. Cumulative impact of these 3 operations on residents, environment, traffic, and infrastructure is a must. How can we justify surrounding multiple family homes and the Saugeen River by gravel mines? Current outdated policy that has allowed these new applications in what we feel an incompatible area. We are asking council to recognize that we need a balanced economy in West Grey, not an aggregate at all costs economy. West Grey needs policy that reflects our unique municipality. We deserve the same strengthening policies that Caledon did for their community. Judy will expand on this in her delegation. Without policies that protect our community from the negative impacts of new mines, we risk losing all the things that are important to our residents and local economy. We are West Grey. We are nestled in nature, and we need to protect it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Our second delegation this morning is from Judy. Excuse me, Sminko? Smelk. I got the Judy part, right?
You did.
Yeah, that was the easy one. Thank you very much, Judy, and kind of on the same topic,
Yes.
I'll give it. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Good morning, everyone. I'm Judy Smelko, volunteer president of the Saugeen Preservation Society. If you want more information about our group, please visit savethesaugeen.com. As Sarah shared, we've been dealing with 2 new aggregate license applications and planned expansion of the Walker Redford pit in our West Gray neighborhood for 2 years now. Through this process, we have garnered a clear understanding about aggregate policy at both the provincial and local level and aggregate resources here in West Gray. We learned that Gray County policy and constraint mapping is based on an outdated study performed 21 years ago. This raises grave concern about the effectiveness of the tool you rely on to guide decisions about the aggregate resources in our municipality. The good news is West Gray has the perfect tool to address this situation. We are here to ask West Gray to use an interim control bylaw. An ICBL would put a pause on zoning changes for new pits while you ensure the aggregate policy and constraint mapping reflects current balanced priorities and protects the taxpayers, businesses, tourism industry, water, land, and air in our municipality. Our friends and fellow TAPMO members in Caledon recently used an interim control bylaw to update their policies. Like West Gray is part of Gray, Caledon is part of Peel. They aim to create policy that reflects their unique areas' priorities, supported by up-to-date science and data. In October, Caledon announced that they had completed the update. They are currently going through the next steps to add the new supplementary aggregate policy to their plan as an amendment. We ask that West Gray do the same for our unique municipality that is nestled in nature. Next slide, please. Let's take a quick look at the state of gravel mining in Ontario and how that translates in West Gray. The Auditor General report on the management of aggregate resources showed that the province is not doing a good job of regulation, oversight, and responsible management of the resource. On the ground, when it came to the actual pits, it was concluded that inspection rates were shockingly low and non-compliance remains high. It went on to say that this raises significant concerns that non-permissible activities will remain unchecked, perhaps for years on end. To see how that plays out in West Gray, we requested all of the inspection reports on the 29 pits for the past 10 years. The 41 reports we received revealed that it absolutely holds true here. The majority of our pits have been inspected only once in 10 years. 70% of the inspection reports recorded non-compliance issues. Most notable are importing scrap and unclean fill, fuel storage issues, and digging outside the license boundary. There were no follow-up inspections. Nobody is monitoring the pits once they are licensed, so it is crucial that our municipality be our fail-safe in the licensing process. Up-to-date policy and constraint mapping will help prioritize the most suitable locations for aggregate applications to have the least possible impact. So let's look at aggregate policy. Provincial aggregate policy is driven by the needs of the urban centers and paints the entire province with that brush. Because of this, gravel mining has been prioritized in all of Ontario for decades. Policy has continuously evolved to reflect that, with additions like there is no need to show need in 2014. Throughout aggregate policies, it is stated impacts must be minimized. This acknowledges the negative impacts of gravel mining, but also translates to, as long as standard practices are followed in an effort to minimize impacts, any location is free game. This again reinforces the need to have up-to-date policy that reflects our balanced priorities and accurate constraint mapping that identifies the most appropriate locations for aggregate operations that are environmentally and socially responsible. Next slide, please. Let's take a look at aggregates here at home in West Gray. Gray County contains 1,670 million tons of quality aggregate. 875 million tons of that is in West Gray, which is the yellow and red on this map. West Gray is currently licensed to extract 7.9 million tons yearly, but on average, we extract 1 million tons. Last year, we only extracted just over 750,000. This all translates to there is enough available supply to allow West Gray to pause new pit approvals while policy is updated with zero impact on meeting demand. New aggregate license applications and license expansions are posted on the Environmental Registry of Ontario. Currently listed for West Gray are 3 new license applications totaling an additional 1.15 million tons yearly. The Walker Cedar Well pit on concession 2 is applying to increase annual extraction limits from 50,000 tons to 420,000 tons. And not yet listed is the planned expansion of the Walker Redford pit that is in our neighborhood on concession 4. The pop-out in this map shows the existing Redford pit, their planned expansion towards the Saugeen, and the 2 new applications impacting our area right now. There is a 3-kilometer stretch of the Saugeen River at risk of impacting and being impacted by these pits. We are all aware of the power and complexity of the Saugeen. Better consideration needs to be made on setbacks for such invasive land uses. Open pits change the topography, remove filtration, and can potentially introduce silt and contamination to our beloved river. This needs to be reflected in current constraint mapping. Next slide, please. Current provincial and local policy renders West Gray up for grabs by the aggregate industry. The Ministry of Natural Resources licensing process looks at the applications with tunnel vision. It generally focuses on the pit itself and a thin margin around it. We rely on the municipality as experts on our area to look at the broader picture, including the socioeconomic impacts. In Gray County, Municipality of Meaford, Gray Highlands, Town of Blue Mountains, and Township of Southgate all have their own aggregate policies tailored for their unique areas that supplement Gray County policies. Despite holding over 50% of Gray County's aggregates, West Gray relies solely on Gray County's aggregate policies. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Gray County's policy and constraint map is based on a now expired study. The 21-year-old study was completed in 2004 and only predicted out to 2023. A lot changes in 20 years, both provincially and locally. Here are just 2 of the issues revealed by the applications in our area. The outdated constraint map failed to identify the incompatible land use pattern in our neighborhood. Camp McGovern expressed immediately that a pit adjacent to their property would render it unsuitable for their purposes. The land uses were polar opposites. One relied on the pristine ecosystem and ambiance, and the other disrupts and shatters it. As Sarah mentioned, these applications contributed to Camp McGovern's decision to list their property for sale last year. Because we are dealing with 3 separate operations, the cumulative or combined impact on the environment, residents, and infrastructure must be considered to paint a true picture. Vague language of current policy leaves it open for interpretation and does not make that mandatory. Next slide, please. Before I sum everything up, I would like to share a couple things. Tomorrow, Mike Balkwell from Reform Gravel Mining Coalition will be delegating at the TAPMO board about Caledon's ICBL. Since you're on the board, Mayor Eccles, this is a great opportunity to get further information about doing this in West Gray. I hope you or another councillor will be able to attend. Our lawyer, David Donnelly, who was involved in Caledon's ICBL, is scheduled to delegate to you at your next meeting on February 4th. He will speak to the legalities of the ICBL and answer any further questions you may have. The key takeaway from today's discussion is the pressing need for West Gray to update policies and mapping to effectively manage our aggregate resources. West Gray holds a significant portion of Gray County's aggregate resources, yet we rely on outdated policies that fail to address local context, environmental concerns, and the impact of gravel mining on our residents, businesses, tourism economy, infrastructure, land, water, and air. We are advocating for localized approach similar to Caledon and other parts of Gray County. By updating our policies, we can ensure a more balanced and sustainable approach to aggregate extraction, one that protects both our community's best interests and the environment. It's clear that updating these policies is not only necessary, but very achievable, as evidenced by our friends in Caledon. West Gray has the tools and power to take these same proactive steps. You as councillors of West Gray are our final fail-safe. Taking everything into consideration, it is critical to do this now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judy. Very informative, and we'll be taking this forward as your information and Sarah's information. And Sarah, I give you 2 minutes there, so you got 12 minutes. She only got 8 minutes.
I did my best. The 10.
No, it was very good. In depth and gives us going forward, yes, trying to figure out these policies. One thing that we do know for certain, the gravel is only where the gravel is. So that part hasn't changed, that's for sure.
Absolutely, but there's a lot of gravel in West Gray and we need to determine where it's suitable to take it out.
Yeah.
And taking it out this close to the Saugeen River and trapping homes between pits, you know, it makes it not a suitable area to put it. So we need to have up-to-date constraint mapping that reflects our current composition. And not 20 years ago to determine where it is appropriate to put gravel pits.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And as I said, we'll be taking a lot of this information for as we move forward on reviewing this with the county, where that portion lies. And thank you for great interest in helping us
Thank you.
move forward. Very good. All right. Councillor Shea. Go ahead. No, I got it.
Thank you. There was a reference there to TAPMO and your involvement in that. Is that something you could give us a brief update about?
Be a lot better after I get to the meeting on Sunday morning at Roma. Would be the next one. TAPMO, Top Aggregate Producing Municipalities of Ontario. Been on that. Push Lynch, Zorro Township, down in the Oxford area. There's representation from around Ontario through Gray County. I was asked to move on to that board because Gray County has been identified with 60% of the Ontario aggregate resources. Have done a fair bit of work, and it certainly, as was referenced in the delegation material, the lack of oversight from the province on the aggregate industry is probably the biggest thing. TAPMO was, and through Wellington County, was very instrumental in redoing some of the assessment and taxation portions, making sure that those were accurate and in place. So that has helped out, but it's TAPMO is an advocacy for better production and more ethical work between the aggregate industry and the municipalities and the communities where the aggregate industry is. One thing that was certainly noted was the Auditor General's report. Again, they're licensed and it's under the province to inspect. And I don't know whether you've had a chance to take a look at it, but it was pretty damning that the province. Now, Tapmo's influenced, and from my understanding, there has been, there were supposed to be somewhere between 70 to 80 inspectors. They were down to less than 20, hence why a lot of the inspections weren't being done and follow up on any of the problems. So Tapmo's been putting basically the influence towards the province to pick up, and if they want to be the oversight, then please do. I'm a little contrary to the presentation that the province hasn't been doing it, and if we're to step forward, my concern is how much will we end up getting downloaded onto the municipalities to start doing the inspection for a provincially licensed extraction and mining. I think our spot is more to have the province do their job, and if they want to continue on with that, but that's what Tapmo has been about and whatnot. Further.
And I understand that there are county extraction policies, but I heard from the presentations that there are lower tier municipalities that are implementing some more local policies. Do you think that's something we should be considering?
Okay. I guess I thought I was speaking loud enough, but those are the ones that are out there on. Thank you. Those municipalities in Grey County have their own official plan. And in that zoning, in the zoning applications and the planning aspect of it. So they have been able to put those in to run, can't be more restrictive or demanding than what the county has at this point in time. But it would take, because of the rural nature, and our official plan is on the rural municipalities, as you know, Jeff. Normanby, Bentinck, and Glenelg are under the county official plan, and that's, so it would take it's going to take a fair bit of work if we get to the point where Southgate, the one they'll use, Georgian Bluff, Meaford, have their overall comprehensive official plan. So that's going to take some work as well too to incorporate that. But it's not impossible, and probably someplace strategically that over the next, and it'll take a number of years to get to that point of us having our own official plan for all of West Grey, not just Durham and Newstead, of those urban areas. Okay. All right. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Just to further that question, so it sounds like a lot of the right now the policies come from the county level. I'm just curious whether this group, like where are we with the county, and has this group delegated to the county, which is the county maybe needs to look at their policies and do some updates. So maybe it's worthwhile for this group to be presenting at the county level besides just presenting here. Is there any discussions, or has there been any discussions or anything happening at the county level in terms of updating or any presentations regarding gravel pits in the last little while?
That would be a question to ask of the warden. I don't handle the agenda of the county. I follow it along with Deputy Mayor Hutchison. You know, this group certainly would be allowed to delegate, no different than anybody here. So I would take it, it would be up to them, but yes, Judy, Sarah would be an excellent spot for influence as well too.
Look, there be no way for
Could-
West Grey to put a amendment to your policy that covers aggregate in your municipality.
So question from the floor, and I'm going to take this one and then we're going to move on. It would, that's probably a question for the Director of Legislative Services. There goes the bus. It is possible, but it needs to be something that comes forward, whether it's a notice of motion. It's not on our agenda and or administrative direction at this point in time. Right, Jamie? I got that one. But as I said before, I think, you know, it's something that moving forward, it's been brought to our attention that we'll probably be looking somewhere around what the options are and what the implications are. And I can say there is a meeting of TAPMO we have a conference coming up next week, starting on Sunday in Toronto, Roma Rural Ontario Municipal Association's conference. And TAPMO's meeting is there on Sunday at 1:00. I'll be at that. So I'll be able to find some more information of how it's directed and how it's done at that point in time. Okay, thank you.
That was our, they're adding it, our policy.
Yep, okay, thank you. Last question, Mr. Shea.
You said that there might be some legislative options. Do you think we could ask for a staff report on possible roads forward around this issue?
That might be something. Where does that come up? Notice of motions or something of that nature?
Okay.
Yeah, when we're thinking about it later on the agenda.
Sure. Thank you.
Be the spot to bring that up at that point in time.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you very much for the delegations. Thank you for your interest, and moving forward, we'll be on our agenda. I think as the hint came from one of the counselors to my left here near the end of the meeting, there'll be some direction at that point in time. Okay. Thank you. Everybody's quite welcome to stay, you know. These meetings are very, I do recognize most of the time it's, yeah, this is the time when the mass exodus. So before we continue on, if anybody would like to leave, I won't feel offended at all.
All the people impacted by those applications.
Yes. No. Not that I'm aware of anyways. Okay, we're down number 5, public meetings. We have none. Jamie, comment period. You want to give the explanation on this? Slight change on the procedure, but go ahead. Jamie?
Certainly, 3 miracles. As you noted, we are operating under a new procedural bylaw now, so comment period is much the same as it was before. The only change is that individuals making comment must state their name and the municipality in which they reside before providing their comments.
Okay,
Comments are still limited to 2 minutes per
minutes.
person and 10 minutes total.
yep. So at this point, for anybody that's in the audience, we have a comment period on anything that is on the agenda. Comments from the public. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment at this point in time? Ms. Noble, is there anybody online at this point that has their hand up? We do have one. There we are. Do you have, the floor is yours, ma'am. If you can give your name and your residence.
Okay, first, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Oh, hello, good, you can hear me. It's Marianne Ratcliffe calling, and I am from West Grey. I'd like just to call in support of the delegations that we've had today. But we do need more support for protection for the environment and for the residents. I had the unfortunate experience of being part of a sorry, what's the word? Court case for one of the mines that went on here around my neighborhood, and actually heard the representative from Grey County say that it wasn't the mines that shouldn't be here, it was us that shouldn't be here. So this is an attitude that does need to change, and it does need to be brought to their attention. So I do hope that West Grey does make an effort to put some more controls in on our gravel pits. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Marion. And further, do we have anybody else that's on there?
Yes, I am Joyce Hall. I am a summer resident of West Grey. And I'm also, thank you for allowing this comment period. I'm also speaking in support of the delegations. And I want to add a bit of information from the Reform Gravel Mining Coalition website, is that the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources confirms that there's a 6.2 billion ton reserve of aggregates that can meet construction needs for the next 28 years without adding any new quarries or expanding existing ones. So I think that argues very strongly in favor of restraint. And I would like to specifically support Councillor Shay's call for a staff report on the legislative possibilities of West Grey, in fact, creating its own policy, which is in line with the balance that one of the delegates mentioned. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Joyce. Is that all that we have online? Ms. Noble? Yep, okay. Nobody from the audience? All right, and that's it for comment period. Adoption of the minutes then, number 7 on the agenda. We have 3 sets of minutes. The minutes from the special budget meeting, December 10th, minutes from the regular council meeting, December 17th, and the public planning council minutes, public meeting council minutes from December the 17th. We have a mover and a seconder to accept those. Deputy Mayor Hutchison and Councillor Townsend move for the adoption of those 3 sets of minutes. Any comments or questions on the motion? No errors or omissions noted. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. That brings us down to number 8, committee and board reports that we receive for information. Those aren't to be not approved. So we have 8.1 minutes of the West Grey Police Service, November 18th. 8.2 highlights from the Grey County, November 28th, highlights from the Grey County December 12th meeting, and the Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission meeting December the 18th. Do we have someone to move acceptance or receiving those minutes? Councillor Forrester, thank you, Scott, and Councillor Hutchison. Thanks, Doug. Any comments on that motion? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
I'm just curious with the county minutes that were in there, is that going to be a regular thing now? Because I think it's a good idea to have that Sometimes if you don't take the time to go into the county and look the minutes up, you don't see it, but gives us a brief update. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
We'll leave that to the Director of Legislative Services to follow up and keep those coming, but yes, it will be a regular thing on our update from the county level. Okay. No further questions. I'll ask the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Correspondence. We have one that needs direction, so we'll deal with that one first, is 9.1. And this is the one that Councillor Noon has declared a conflict. And she is part of that committee. Who wants to take this then? Correspondence is there. The committee is looking obviously at 2026 to have the homecoming again. Doesn't feel like it was 10 years ago. Well, it does feel like it was 10 years ago. I was there and it took a fair while to recover. It was quite a party that they had. Very good. And the committee is looking for a little bit of help. Jamie, Councillor Townsend? Okay. Yeah. What have you got for a motion on this one? Reaction to it? James?
It's three miracles. This is very similar to what was undertaken for the Durham homecoming, whereby council provided authorization to enter into an MOU with the homecoming committee for some of the things that the Ayton Normanby homecoming committee is looking for. So with respect to this request, my suggestion would be that council authorize the CAO and clerk to enter into an MOU with the Ayton Normanby homecoming committee for the 2026 homecoming.
Okay. Do you want to put that on the floor? Move that?
I would make that as a motion, yes.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Townsend. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor? Got on the floor, comments on the motion. Deputy Mayor. Huh?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. I'm curious if we will be having a council appointed member to attend these meetings. And if so, I would be more than happy to put my name forward to attend those meetings on behalf of him. So if that's where we're going with it, thank you.
Thoughts? Staff? Jamie?
Three miracles. This is a community organization, so council doesn't have the authority to unilaterally insert itself into this. However, if the committee made that request, then that could be considered at the time in the future.
Yep. Okay. Further, Councillor Shea. Jamie?
Did the Durham MOU include seed money that was loaned and further paid back? Okay, thank you.
Three miracles, just for clarity for anyone watching online. Yes, it did.
And I'm looking to Director Mighton, 2016, I believe, in the last Ayton homecoming. What the committee is looking for is very similar to what we did there. And it was a successful venture partnership at that point in time between the municipality and the Ayton homecoming committee at that point. And I guess they probably started that about 2014. I said it was for the 2016, but the 2 years of planning ahead of time. So it was probably in 14 when we did that one. This is what they're looking for. It's a bit of, for clarity, for anybody out there that's wondering, as they're moving forward and whatnot, there's got to be deposits before any funding comes in. There has to be deposits to hold reserve bands, entertainment, a lot of upfront money, and municipality, and it was successful a number of times that we've done it. Okay, further questions, Doug?
I'm just curious with the appointed council member, did we do that for the Durham one? I can't remember. We had someone there, but I'm not sure if they were appointed.
I sat on that committee. I had some extra time. I wasn't on council at that point in time.
Yeah,
Um,
was Stephen.
but I
Townsend?
believe it was, at that point in time, Stephen Townsend that was, yeah, I don't know whether it was appointed or sat there and that was the,
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah.
but,
I know that Stephen was there.
Yeah.
I can say that.
We should have a record of that somewhere, though, too, right? If we had to look up, but regardless, yeah.
And I guess we could say that at this point in time, we've already had somebody declare that they do sit on council and they've already been sitting on the committee. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions on the motion to enter into the agreement? Memorandum of understanding with the committee from the municipality. That's the motion that's on the floor, duly moved and seconded. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Just wait for Ms. Noon to come back. And the 9.2, I don't believe is there, the mail strike is over, so that's why we have we've had 3 or 4 correspondents in the last couple of council meetings, and we've got quite a few this council meeting. Had to be the mail strike ending, and these ended up here. 9.2, is there anyone that wants to pull any of those or a quick comment on it, please? Councillor Atchison, sorry, Doug.
I don't wish to pull them, but I do have a comment on number 1 and number 3. If I could.
Quick comment, yeah.
Okay, so the Conservation Authority one regarding Conservation Authority fees. So the government's freezing those fees. And I just have a little concern with that. I know, budget time, it's always tough and they're trying to hold the line and supposedly it has to do with housing, but I just think that if we continue to freeze fees, that somewhere along the line, we're going to be a catch up. So it's the same when we do at our level, when we don't push our fees up over time, it becomes somewhere along the line, it becomes a big jump. So I do have a concern with them restricting fees because this is what, 3rd year now, maybe, or something that they've done that. 2 or 3 years.
4th year now.
4th year. So I think it's going to come back to bite us eventually, but I guess we don't have much say on that. So that was my comment.
Might be a question to ask a minister here or there when we're in Toronto at the conference next week.
Yeah. Possibly. We can get that delegation.
Go ahead.
Want to go on to the next one?
Second comment.
Okay, so the third one had to do with supporting the funding, budgeting for community policing, where they're looking at people that have OPP costing or OPP services that the government is going to subsidize the cost of OPP, but for people, municipalities that have their own police services, that isn't the case. So I'm just thinking, I don't mind supporting this if we need to do that, but I think we've already done that in previous resolutions, right? So I didn't see why we need to do it again.
No. Okay. We've certainly done that, and that's why it's just here in correspondence to be received. But good to bring that point up, because I'm not very happy with AMO as AMO. Association of Municipalities of Ontario was there to represent the interest of all municipalities. And I'm disappointed with the letter that came from the president, Jones, that she was very happy that she was able to get that through for OPP policing, community policing, that they received 90 million, and a number of, for the 300 municipalities that have 300 plus that have OPP, they're getting anywhere from a few thousand to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she was very happy with that. Surprisingly, her municipality is OPP policing, but we haven't heard anything about municipal police forces. So appreciative of that, Doug. Anyways, I knew I shouldn't have got it going. Go ahead, Doug.
So I presume then maybe there'll be some delegations at Roma this coming weekend. I would hope that for some of the police communities that don't have OPP, I would hope that they have asked to meet.
I believe that they have. No, we didn't. West Gray doesn't have a delegation with the ministry, but we're hopeful that there will be, and I'm positive on some of the network that they have. It is very much City of Owen Sound is, Mayor there is very concerned with it. Mayor of Hanover, and certainly the warden of Bruce County now, the Mayor of Saugeen Shores, who are three other closest municipal port services, that how it's going to impact them and impact us as well too. So there'll be a lot of conversation about it. Okay. If there's no comments on any of the rest of them, I'd take a motion to receive the rest of the correspondence. Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you. Any comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. That's it for number 9. Number 10, staff reports. I guess we'll start right off then with 10.1.1 is the West Gray Fire Chief. Good morning, Chief Schwartz. And is dealing with 10.1.1 is Fire Protection Grant Transfer Payment Agreement. You want to, where we move the motion, any further update or report on this? Cole's notes, go ahead.
Yeah, to you, Mayor, through you. Yeah, the report's there. Basically, we've gotten another grant. I think that's a third grant this year we've applied for and gotten. This one here is, we've had to cut back on what we applied for. We had applied originally for the 35,000 and we come up with 24. It leaves us $1,600 short. We've made some adjustments. We've cut back on what we're going to get. So 3 items, one will go to each station, is a decon pack, which is basically it's a soap tank with a handle on it, and you attach a fire hose to one end, and then you have a smaller hose. And when the guys come out of a fire after they're done, you rinse them off, and then you scrub them down with brushes and then rinse them before they get back in the truck and take the contaminants back to the hall. And the other thing is 2 gear drying racks, which hold 6, I believe it's 6 pair of gear. One would be for Newstead, one's for Durham. Ayton built one years ago and it seems to work fine. So that's basically what it is. The 1,600 would be absorbed back into our operational budget. That's I can find that in there to cover that. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on that grant that we did receive it. And this is a 3-year thing. There'll be another grant this year for more cancer preventive equipment. And it'll go on for the next, I think it's 3 years. So.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief. Any questions on that? I believe that there's a recommendation or a motion there for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Very good. Any further questions or comments on that? Very good to see that, yes, province is helping us out in the safety of our volunteers. More and more becoming aware of the health issues with doing firefighting and where you are and how to stay clear of that. I think that's what this is predominantly about.
Yeah, I do wish that we had this sort of thing years ago. As I think of some of the veteran firefighters had just in the town of Durham alone that have passed away with cancer, and how many of those cancers were fire related, I don't know. But
Yeah.
we all know some of these people, and this hopefully we can slow this down and bring it to an end.
Yep. As we learn. Okay. No other questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thanks very much, Chief. 10.2.1. Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Akins. Good morning, Jeff. And your report is on the West Grey drinking water system and the inspection reports. Give us just a bit of an update before we.
So we are now in receipt of the 2024 and 2025 inspection reports for both the Durham and Newstat drinking water systems. Both reports were excellent. There were no non-conformities identified. And Durham received a inspection rating of 100% and a risk rating of 0%. At the time of writing this report, Newstat's numbers aren't available, but the report is very similar to Durham's, and in consultation with the inspector, he anticipates we'll see similar numbers for Newstat. Can't be better, but they can be similar. So seldom do I get to bring you a report that is good news and costs you $0.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Any questions for the report? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, I just think it's good news, and I'd just like to have a shout out to our contractor that looks after our water systems. I think they do a great job, and it's something that's very, very important. Sorry, am I cut off? It's the first time.
Put a time limit on here.
Yeah, I know.
Careful what you ask for.
Jamie's got a new resolution. Anyways, yeah, I think they're doing a great job, and we're lucky to have such a great group, I think.
Yes, shout out to Viola for the work that they do.
Thank you, but also I would be remiss if I didn't point out that our staff play a significant role in the development of safe drinking water throughout the distribution system. So it's a shout out to staff too.
Yes. Thank you for that. Okay, so there is a recommendation there. Do we have anybody that would like to move that? Councillor Noon and Councillor Forster. Thank you. Any further questions on that? Oh, it's good news to get those reports back the way they are. No further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. All right. Thank you, Jeff. 10.3, 10.3.1, additional proposed tower installations. We've had a number of these over the last 6 months, give or take. Carl, Director Shipwreck, this is yours. What are we looking at here?
Yep. Thank you through you, Mayor. So yeah, it's a similar report to previous one we received. This is the third one. We don't have any additional towers in the process yet. We have had some inquiries, so there may be more of these coming down the line later, but currently we have 3 tower locations for possible towers. Again, the purpose of this report to council is for council to confirm that the notification process has been completed. That is the only requirement the municipality has in this process. It is governed through the Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada. So there were 3 locations. The one location on Hamilton Lane received 1 comment from Grey County Planning. We received those comments from Grey County Planning on this application because they happen to own property within the required notification. And that's why they commented on this one and not the other 2. And the other 2, we received no comments.
Okay. Any questions on this? Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Thank you. Do the residents make application to authorize it on their property just because of their cell reception? Or is it something that the company looks for with, you know, not having the communications that's needed in those areas?
Carl?
Yes. As far as I'm aware, the company that is making application for these towers, they're a tower installation company. So they build the towers and then they rent or lease that space to whatever provider, whether it's cell phone, radio, anything that they would like on there. So they would look, I would assume that they would look for the holes in the reception and the hole, where the least amount of coverage would be, and then they would try to attempt to find a location or a willing host in that area, and then contact that host and then bring an application forward through to the municipality. The municipality does have one tower on it, or proposed tower on its property, and that was sort of the process that happened through the municipality as well.
Further, go ahead, Joyce.
Do residents, like would the municipality provide residents, the contact information from these companies about their cell communications? Like, I'm apologize if I'm getting off topic, but I just know even in Ayton with that new tower going up, that cell reception is just terrible yet. So I just didn't know how the communication could get out to these companies about, towers going up, it's still not being very compatible to residents.
Yes, I can make that inquiry to the company. I don't know exactly how, if they just offer the space. I'm not sure that the cell companies are required or would want to necessarily, it would be up to them whether they would want to lease the space. I would suggest if anybody has bad service on their company, that they should probably contact their cell company and ask, tell them that there is a tower located nearby and that they should look at getting, if they don't already. And I'm not sure even the one on Gray Road 3, I understand it is up and it has been connected to hydro, but I'm not sure if they've leased any area on that tower to anybody or not. I don't know that. I can inquire and find out, but I'm not sure that they would tell me or not.
There is some gear on that tower. Whose it is, and that's the whole thing. These are basically private owned, I think, as Carla said. And then it's up to the companies themselves, whether it's Rogers, Bell, in the cell world, to get the equipment on there and pick up the service. So it's one of those things that's out there just in another world. You can't see it, but it's supposed to be there. Okay. Anything further? Then there is a recommendation there. Do I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. And if there's no further questions, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. The next staff report is our Director of Finance Treasurer, 10.4.1 and 10.4.2. Carrie, it's Mighton. Accumulation of a couple of months' work.
Yes,
These documents?
Yeah, several budget meetings, but the council has recommended that the bylaw be brought forward, so that is on the agenda for today. We're estimating the total blended rate when we layer in the county and the school board will be about 8.6%. And that maintains our existing service levels, continues to advocate for rural healthcare and plans for growth and infrastructure projects. I've provided a few statistics in the report, but unless there's any questions, that's.
Very good. Yep, extensive report there, Carrie. Any questions for the director? Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Thank you. I was just wondering, with the notification and going out with the interim tax billings, was information going to be supplied at this time to the residents? Because I like the diagrams that you showing how much the dollar's worth and how it's distributed amongst all the departments, or how overall how the monies are distributed amongst all the departments. I think that's good information, and I was just wondering if it's going to be circulated with the interim taxes or with the final tax billings.
Carrie?
Typically, we'll put that in with the final tax billing. The interim is just based on half of last year's taxes, so they wouldn't feel any impact in there. So we typically include some of the specific current year budget information in the final newsletter with the final tax bill.
Okay. Good. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and through you to Director Mine. I've talked to quite a few people. They really appreciate your financial implications breakdown. It really puts it into perspective of, instead of getting hung up on percentages, because that's very confusing to everyone unless you work with budgets all the time. But, you know, just to break it down into the actual assessment on, based on your assessed value and the 10 per month, or 10 per month. So I think that certainly helps them. The other thing that I was saying to a lot of the people that I've talked to is, you know, if we were up to value or up to speed with it, so what is it, since 19, we haven't had an impact assessment. We're playing catch up on stuff we can't get. If we were if that was actually current, we'd be in a different shape, and maybe the levy would be, or our budgets wouldn't be like they are. So explain it to people that way. They certainly understand which direction we're going. So I appreciate this breakdown. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Tom, thank you. Okay, anything else? Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, I do think the more we can advocate and put it out there, educate people on how the tax dollars are spent is important, because I just the other day I had a conversation, well, I didn't have a conversation, I listened in on a conversation about people complaining about taxes, and they lived in the country, and as far as they were concerned, the only thing they got was their road plowed sometimes and maybe a bit of garbage pickup. And they didn't see any other reason why that they're paying taxes, but they forget that there's fire and there's recreation complexes and there's all the other things that go along with it. So I think the more we can educate people that, yeah, you know, you live in the country and yeah, you maybe don't see a lot of services out there, but you know, there are a lot of other things that you benefit from. So I think the more we can put that out there, that this is how your tax dollars are being spent. And then the other thing about, you know, like 8.6 sounds good. We were talking 12 at one point. We still have this whole road and bridge thing that we're dealing with, right? So people need to understand that too, that and lots of people drive on those roads and bridges, you know. So I think the more we can educate our public, the easier it'll be at this end of it, trying to make those decisions and maybe be supportive rather than we're the bad guys, sort of thing.
No matter when you're talking about taxes, if you're doing the collecting, you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a recommendation there. Received that, the report for information purposes. And further on, we do have the bylaw, which was recommended going forward. Received the recommendation. Deputy Mayor Hutchison, and do I have a seconder? Councillor Shea. Jeff, Tom. Anything further? Any further questions for Carrie? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Thank you. And then the second report, Ms. Mighton, is interim tax bylaw and the 2025 borrowing bylaw at this point in time. Any further on that, Carrie?
Nothing specific. It's just part of the annual with the new year. We'll be billing out 50% of the last year's property taxes for the interim tax levy and our annual borrowing, just basically our line of credit at the bank, just to cover expenses.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shea. Jeff?
I understand that there is a program for low income people that can be eligible to protect them from increases to the tax rate. Is that sufficiently advertised? I first heard about it when it came up at a county meeting and county councillors were complaining that it was undersubscribed. So I just wanted to make sure that that was getting out there.
Yeah, we do have that on our website. There is information on the rebate for low-income seniors or disabled individuals. There's criteria in order to meet that. I think we've had a dozen people the last couple of years. It is an annual application as well for that program.
Yep, it is there. To help to ease that. All right, anything else? Then there is a recommendation there that Director Mighton has for the interim 2025 interim tax levy and the ability, basically a line of credit that needs to be renewed each year that we have. Thankfully, with Director Mighton's financial wizardry, we rarely go into that. Someone move that? Thank you. Councillor Forrester, Scott, and Councillor Townsend. Doug. Okay. Any other questions on the recommendation? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Clear that. Right. I believe we're on to bylaws, are we not? Oh, sorry. Questions. Scroll back up. This paperless thing is great, but it's a matter of just keeping up with the agenda. That's it for staff reports. Questions? Councillor Noon. But just before you go, Jamie, with this new procedure, wants to give you a little update on what's going to be for questions. Jamie?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and through you, just for council's information, as a reminder, the new procedural bylaw is in effect. So much like the previous version of the bylaw, questions are meant to be related to previous or current agenda items, and the councillor must identify the agenda item specifically that the question relates to. Yeah. A crazy thing, isn't it, Mr. Townsend? We're going to be asked to think when we're here. That's the way you identify it, but no, it is, for that. If we could reach back and be able to, so we can keep the thread going. Councillor Ned. Thank you for being the guinea pig of this first procedure.
But unfortunately, I don't know the agenda item on a previous agenda. It relates to bridges. Am I doing okay so far? And it was brought to my attention from a ratepayer about their concerns of the bridges that are closed and the impact that the EMS has reflected. And I'm talking about on concession 15, 16, I just can't think of the bridge, but the timing of ambulance getting there, because the where the call's coming from, I'm just trying to think of the name, where it's administered for the call out is giving the wrong directions, and they're coming on roads where there's another bridge closed. So we need to really reach out to these dispatch about getting this matter rectified, because this is important with the safety and timing that EMS is needed for. So I just want to bring that to the attention. Thank you.
Okay, comments? Yes.
Thank you. Through that, I've made note of that, Councillor Noon, and I will speak to Director Aitken. If any of you get those kind of queries, especially given the sensitivity and, the potential urgency of that, please reach out to Director Aitken or myself immediately, and we can follow up with EMS to make sure dispatch is dutifully notified.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Very good. Before we go into motions or notice of motions and whatnot, do you want to take a quick 10-minute or 5-minute break? We'll break for 5? All right. We can do that. We'll recess for 5. Okay. We'll call the meeting back to order. Thank you very much. We're down to number 12 on the agenda. Don't believe there was any notice previously given. Notice of motions. Any notice of motions? Councillor Shay, Jeff?
Thank you. I think we were all intrigued and concerned by the delegations that we had today. And I'm not sure that there is a path forward or even a role for the municipality, but I would like to make a notice of motion at the next meeting that we ask staff to explore and lay out options that might exist for the municipality to take a more proactive approach to managing aggregate extraction in our municipality.
Okay, thank you. When giving those requests, is there, we need on the procedural aspect of this, we need somebody to second or endorse that request, Jamie? Procedure.
Three miracles. Yes, it's not seconding the motion. It's just indicating support for the motion in order to get it on the agenda for the next meeting. So if a council member makes a notice of motion, they would have to find someone to support that notice of motion right now in order for it to carry through to the next meeting.
Joyce?
I so make that addition to that and support to that notice of motion with Councillor Shay.
Okay, thank you. Any other notices? Very good. Look forward to seeing how that's coming forward. Okay, that moves us down to number 14, announcements. Anyone got any announcements out there? Everybody forgot what they did for New Year's? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that participated in the alumni game that we held December the 14th in Durham. It was a huge success. We did we came a little shy of our target for our earnings, but we still very successful. So it's pleased to say that I think it was 75 families that were recipients of the baskets that we put out, and we have another rollout for February, which is even better. And from there, my understanding is there's been a lot more. The awareness is out there, and I think some various people have stepped forward, and it should be ongoing. So thank you to everyone that contributed, everyone that participated, everyone that volunteered, et cetera, et cetera. So just thank you very much to the community for rallying together and taking care of this huge issue. Thank you.
Any other announcements, Councillor Hutchison?
Maybe just putting this back to you, Chair, I think it's important that we maybe just announce briefly what's happening with our Frazzle Ice situation. If you wouldn't mind, or our CAO or maybe our director could just bring us up to date. I think it's important for the public to know what's going on out there. I know lots of people are curious, and there are a lot of things that have happened in the last few days. So can we just do a quick update by any chance?
Somebody that tours that on a very regular basis, I may point towards Madam CEO, her and manager, or not sure what Steve's title is, but they tour around quite a bit lately.
Thank you so much for the question. I'm happy to report on how we're monitoring this. For most people in this community, they're well aware of the history we have with Frazzle Ice and flooding that occurred in 1997 and 2006. This year, the Saugeen Valley Conservation advised us in November, on the day they were removing boards from the upper dam, that based on engineering reports to that dam, they didn't feel the dam was there was structural integrity to keep the boards in for winter. In the past, that winter, those boards have held the water back and prevented, from our observations, the buildup of Frazzle Ice, which is slush on ice, which generally occurs when the temperatures get very cold. So most recently, during this extreme cold spell that we had, there was a buildup of frazzle ice. Saugeen Valley this winter does have a monitoring program. The municipality of West Gray works with them. We have a group that is monitoring it every day to look at the buildup. And most recently, when we had the extreme temperatures, we went on to flood activation protocols where those waters were being monitored 24/7. The municipality and through our operations supervisor, Steve, has been out there as well. He has a long history with the river and is well aware of what he should be looking at. We drive up and down, or I go out sometimes with him to drive up and down, and I've learned more about frazzle ice than I ever thought I would need to know, but has been monitoring the slow ups. We are very blessed in this community that we have community members and businesses who want to do everything they can to mitigate any potential risk of flooding. So once we were made aware of the issue and the potential for frazzle ice, we had on call hi-ho excavators as well as bulldozers who were prepared to deal with any issues. Last week, we had upwards of 6 hi-hos at various sites along the river, scooping and removing slush. Many of these hi-hos were operating 24/7, and we did manage to mitigate any flooding, which is delightful. Obviously, with last night's cold temperatures, we did see the beginning of some formation of frazzle ice, but not enough to cause any blockage at this time. So, it's hard to fight Mother Nature, but what I would like to let our community know is that we have industry coming together, businesses coming together, and the municipality is monitoring this 24/7. I do try to provide council with updates when there's anything going on that you need to be aware of, because I know you are the front lines to the public and you often get asked questions. What I would ask is that when we have to be there with equipment, the public to really stay away. Those can be very, very dangerous conditions. People should not be going in the river or when there's equipment. I really encourage you to stay away as best you can. We do have signs posted as well. The road closed specifically behind the ball diamonds, but we're very thankful that we have at this point been able to mitigate any flooding. And I suspect, giving this new condition related to the boards being removed, that we will be very diligent throughout this entire winter on this. The mayor and I have had conversations. We are reaching out to determine what next steps might be, not only for perhaps some financial support for the cost to the municipality to mobilize all of this equipment, but also hopefully by the spring to look at some longer term solutions related to the upper dam so that we're not in this precarious position again.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Well said. Further, Doug?
Along with that, just curious with the cost of the high hose and all the work that goes into controlling this, is that solely our municipality, or does Conservation Authority kick in on that? I know in the past we've had some government support, but I'm curious, is that like a 50-50 split with us and the Conservation Authority?
Apparently you've been out in the weather too often or too much lately, and there's a bit of a freeze up there with your thought process as well too. The Conservation Authority, their involvement in this is to tell us that they have staff on 24/7, watching the river and telling us in a very Captain Obvious statement, there's ice coming down the river. West Gray, you'll deal with it. And, as the CEO said, have dealt with it very well. Mr. Earhart and has mobilized Jeff, Tim, the whole West Gray, basically on the roads department, have mobilized and got the equipment that's needed to alleviate the situation, but certainly won't eliminate it. That's for further, as Michelle said, coming forward. There has been some suggestions that invoicing Saugeen Valley for this would be appropriate, but that's still to be determined down the road yet. Yep, I'll stick my neck out far enough.
Thank you. If
Michelle.
I may, I just wanted also to extend thanks, not just to our municipal staff who have been working diligently on this, but to those contractors who have basically had their machines on hold, ready to come at our beck and call. And as we know, they have run their private businesses. They have to pull this equipment from other jobs as well. And you know, that it really does take a village to keep a community together. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank them. They make us look like we're on top of things, and we try to be, but they are a big part of the equation. So if you see them out there, any of them, and watching those machines in action, I am just in awe of the synchronicity and how they work together. It's pretty amazing because at the end of the day, there's no textbook on this. You can't go to the manual and say, this is how you deal with frazzle ice. And as I'm learning where we think it might back up, it doesn't back up in the same place all the time. We think it might happen one place and it's somewhere else. So the nimbleness of the operators as well, it's quite impressive, and we are very blessed that they have stepped up.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Just on a personal basis, I'd like to say thank you for the Ayton firefighters. I know there was a number of council members that were there on January the 1st. They put on a breakfast, and I guess it's because of their activities. They're on a beck and call 24/7. So on New Year's Eve, they're probably doing family things until the wee hours, and then right back up and had breakfast ready to go for, I didn't hear how many they served, but I know it was into the hundreds. 600? A record amount, and done very well. They do a tremendous job, and a shout out to Station Chief Rao and the whole crew down there. And every one of them had a smile on their face early there in the morning on January the 1st. So good for them. Anything else? All right, then we're down to closed session, which I'm not aware of anything. Nothing come up. Okay, Jamie. Then it's bylaws, and we have bylaws 17.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, and 0.8. 8 bylaws there on the docket. And procedurally, we can have a motion to move all of those bylaws at once. Do we have someone that will make that motion? Councillor Hutchison and Councillor Townsend. The Doug and Doug Show. Thank you. Any comments on the bylaw? Motion to approve those? No, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And with that, we're down to adjournment. I have nothing else on the agenda. Mr. Eckensweiler, so I will declare the meeting adjourned. And we'll see everyone back here at 2 o'clock for planning. A couple of issues on the planning department.